We are thrilled to have Coach Luiz Gonzalez-Aspuru with us this morning for a presentation entitled Culture Change Management, How to Effectively Implement Any Software. For those of you who are not familiar with Luis, he is the CEO and founder of Asgar, an HR consulting and training firm working with some of the largest global brands and companies in the world. He is also the COO and founder of Wandura, a Mexico-based hospitality and technology company. And finally, Luis also currently serves as the global lead trainer for the Entrepreneurs Organization's Accelerator program. I hope that many of you all are familiar with EO, or the Entrepreneurs Organization. Before we begin, as always, one administrative matter. We want this to be as educational and as informational for all of you as possible. We ask you to please feel free to pose questions using the chat feature, and we will direct those questions to Luis at the conclusion of his presentation. Again, thank you all for attending this Align Coach webinar, and I will now turn the microphone over to Luis.
Thank you, Eugene, and good morning all and everybody to this webinar called How to Effectively Implement Any Software. So what we are going to go through today is to understand a little bit which are the issues and problems that we face when we as business owners or leaders within any organization try to implement a software. Now, why I am doing this presentation, I've been working a lot with many organizations on figuring out the way to put a culture change so that the software, any software, can be received in a well manner. Now, let's put some context and background on the process. So, first of all, my name is Luiz Aspuru. That's my email, and any of you that would like to have any question or contact, feel free to do so. And already Eugene talked about myself, so I will not put that more time on that matter. So let's begin. Are we or you implementing any new software or tool? Why is this question important? Right now we have softwares for everything, and we are implementing softwares in any scenario in our own companies. And what happened is there is a mixed feelings between the employees or team members to implement those kind of software. So if you are in the process to implement a new one, change a new one, this is a conference for you, because we will try to sum up some of the ideas that will help you to do that, not in the technical side of it, but in the cultural part of your organization. So we need to make it happen. We need that to happen. Any software costs money. And the reason we want to implement a software, why? We need to ask that question every time. Why is that we want to implement any software? Is it because of efficiency, communications? It is because we're going to sell more? Is because we want to be a technological company? Why are the reasons, which are the reasons for that we want to implement any software? And it is very important for us to understand that why, because that will make us to make any decision further in the future. Is it a strategic decision for the next 10 years, or if it is something that you will need to implement just in a tiny part of your organization? Is it going to be, globally in your own organization? So it is not the technical part that we are focusing, but only on the people part of it. So right now we have softwares for everything: ERP, CRM, PMS, growth management systems, and project and culture and the communication collaboration systems. So for example, in my own company, we have an ERP. We also have a EMS, that is a growth management system, Align. And also we do have a PMS, a property management system. So we have 3 softwares. And also we have a collaborative software for projects. So it's 4 softwares globally that we have in our company, and that is a mess. So how our people are responding to that, because any software is a tool, and that is something that we need to understand. The software per se is not the most important thing. The most important thing is what is going to happen when we have the software up and running, why we want it, and what is what we want to achieve after we implement the software. I've been coaching and implementing change management for companies for the last 15 years. And one thing that tell a lot of my clients is that, for example, in a CRM implementation for customers, first to implement an Excel thing. We don't need to create a sales force software, really expensive at the beginning. We just need to understand why is what we want to do it and implement something that is really easy to achieve or really easy to change. And we need to do that, let's say, with 8 different approaches or 8 different points that we need to take care of. So is you ready? Is your team ready for this change, and why is important that we understand that? Our team will be reluctant to implement any software because all these reasons. Sometimes there is a threat for the change, lack of information. Sometimes it's fear, stability of their own jobs, or probably a question mark on their own increasing workload. And we need to go with them and try to take all these objections out of their own minds. So what is in it for me? Our people need to understand why it is going to be helpful for them and not only for the company. Of course, it will be helpful for the company, but we need to figure out a way for each one of them to understand what is in it for them. Write down that, because that is the most important thing that you need to achieve. And it is not something that it is money-wise. It is something that we need to let them know, convince them, and put them through a process where they understand that if they do this correctly, their lives will be easier. Taking all these things that are on the chart, like the threat of change, lack of information, fear, workload, or job stability. So now we're going to begin with the specific process. Leadership accountability. As any software implementation, the leadership, the top of the company needs to be involved from the beginning. They need to understand the change that will happen in the company. They need to allocate money for that. They need to be ready to put people in meetings and in training and all that, so that they give the importance of the software implementations to the whole company. Sometimes, and I've seen this many, many times, leadership doesn't get involved and put this process in the middle management people. And then the wheels come off, because the company will push up and the leadership will pull down, and then it will not be implemented correctly. So the first thing that you need to understand, or you need to ask yourself, is leadership accountable for the implementation? Accountability is a really important word and a really hard word, because they are responsible for the implementation. It's not the IT guy, it's not the sales guy, it's the leadership of the company that needs to be responsible and accountable for this. Second, now that leadership is already, let's say, convinced and they are willing to go forward, you need to create a multidisciplinary team from across all your organization, from sales, finance, IT, marketing, or whoever, because those people will understand which are the things that will change and what is the process that needs to be done in each one of the areas of their company. So sometimes, and this is this happens really a lot, the IT people get to implement the software. And that will not work, because the IT people will focus on the software. We need to focus on the solution that the software does. The software is a tool that will help you to do something, and that something is the important thing that we need to take care of. So that multidisciplinary team will make sure that each one of the people on the team will be able to receive a benefit from the software. There is a story here that we were implementing a new software for hospitals in Mexico City. We are talking about probably 50,000 users of this software from all the government hospitals around the city. And what happened was that there was no medical staff on the team in charge of the project. No nurses, no doctors, no anything, just the administrative part of it. And that was something that didn't work because the doctors and the nurses were the users of that software. So the end user need to be involved from the beginning on that team. Now, you have the leadership, you have your team. It is now the moment to communicate. It's time to let them all know why are we doing that, what will happen within the next weeks or months, how much are we spending on that, how much time are they allowed to allocate to that project, and all those kind of things that you need to communicate to your people. So the official kickoff needs to take place. That can be digital or in a digital format by Zoom or all your people in one meeting room, whatever you think is appropriate, but you need to do a kickoff. From now on, the software is going to work. And that is very important because sometimes people get so involved in the software that forgets about the solution. Let's say this. If you are going to train somebody in a new software, what is it that we are going to focus on? The technical part of the software, the implementation part of the software, or the solution and reports that the software will solve? And most of the times we just focus on the technical part of it and give videos and instructions and all that on how to manage the software, but not what needs to be input in the software so that we get the output that we desire. So this is a very important thing to do, the kickoff meeting or the kickoff of the project. So the team is going to design this kickoff and will communicate all the company through the whole thing so that everybody understands why we are doing it, what is what we want to achieve, and what to expect within the next weeks or days or months. It just depends. So, for example, changing an ERP in your company may take you 6 months or more. So what happened in those 6 months? An example is they will need to have their numbers in the previous software or Excel or whatever, and they will need to have the numbers in the new software. So there is a double job that needs to be done in a period of time, and they need to understand that, and they need to embrace that from the beginning, understanding why are we going to do that. So now all your team needs to contribute all the ideas because the processes and activities that will change are very important. Another story on this is we were implementing a software for the police in some states in Mexico, that they will put all the criminal records in one place so that the judges needs to understand all the follow-up through that specific person. That was done before in another way, so we were implementing that. So what we did is we put some police officers in the process, and they were reluctant, really, really reluctant to do it. As a matter of fact, one of those guys, it was an undercover policeman. He took his gun out of his hip, and he said, "I am not going to do anything for this." So that is the problem. People do not understand what is going to be good for them. And then I talk to him and say, okay, what will you change in the process or activity so that this is better for you? So that those ideas flow, and then we were able to change everything on that perspective. So allow your team to contribute, because those are the guys that know what will happen when you implement that software. If we're going to talk, let's say, about Align. Align, I've been using Align for some months now in my own company, and we do everything, we try to use all the software, but we haven't been able to implement everything. And the reason for that is because there are many things in the software that can be used So probably you will not be able to use the 100% of your software, and you need to choose your battles. You need to choose what is it important of that specific software, and then go to the sites and put a plan, an implementation long-term plan, because you will not be able to implement the 100% features that any software gives. On the ERP software, for example, so you have your purchase orders or your numbers, your books, accounts receivable, accounts payable, and all that. But probably that specific software has inventory capability. Probably you will not be able to implement the inventory capability from zero from the beginning. But if you start giving your people small pieces of information and just specific things to be used, then you implement, stabilize, implement, and stabilize. So it's a process that grows through time. So, and those processes and activities can be better chosen by your own people, by your team, contributing with ideas. Then, of course, we need a rhythm. Scale up, and probably all of you or many of you are familiar with the scale up methodology. Uh, they always say that, Frank Harnish, he always says that we need to have a rhythm, and that rhythm and that routine will set you free. So you need to have a rhythm on the follow up of the implementation with the whole plan. So which is the aspects of the software that you are going to implement, and then have a plan and a follow-up weekly, daily, or bi-weekly, whatever you think is best with your own team on where we are in the use, implementation, and the reports that we got from the software. There is no software that will be helpful if the input of the information is not done correctly. You can have the best software in the world, but if the input of the information is not done correctly, the output will not help. It doesn't matter the size, the amount, or the price of the software that you bought. It's the input that matters. And we need to focus on that input from the beginning and follow up all these meetings so that everybody understands what do they need to implement to input for that specific period of time. And you need to have a lot of patience because software implementation may take you some months to be ready. Of course, there will be a lot of mistakes going on. In an ERP where your numbers and your financials are there, it is really important to understand which mistakes are available, or let's say you can have those mistakes. You can promote and allow mistakes to happen. And it is better to have a safe environment from the beginning for all the people to have those mistakes ready. So sometimes it's better to implement as a demo version of the software so that everybody can understand what's going on and they can or they get familiarized with all the features of the software before you implement the right thing. So for example, in the Align software, I use another account to everybody understand what was going on and then switch to my regular account of Align so that when I did that, I was sure that we were using the right thing in that software. Another software that we use, for example, for contribution is Asana. Well, Asana, Monday, and all those kind of software for collaboration. You can have a really, in 2 or 3 months, you can have a really mess of information projects and things, tasks and all, if you do not do it correctly. So implement a demo software and choose only the things that you need most at the beginning. Do not try to implement the whole thing and let the people and your team to make mistakes so that they understand what happened if the input of that information is not done correctly, what happened at the output. And then in a collaboration software on our ERP or whatever, what happens is you have different people inputting different information and different people having information out. So they need to understand why somebody else need my information in the software. And that is something that you need to take in account from the beginning. Now, on the culture part of it, there will be a lot of mishaps. You will have a lot of frustration, and there will be a lot of fights, let's say, among your team because somebody is not doing the right thing or they are not using it or whatever. We need to promote a positive attitude and an open communication among all. Our team needs to understand that the software that you are implementing is going to solve something that will help them to do a better job. And that is a good thing. So we need to be positive out of that equation. And also communication. So which type of boards, communication, or emails, or benchmark positions that you have in your computers. I don't know, whatever you think is appropriate to communicate. Where are we? For example, a key performance indicator of your own implementation is important. Milestones, percentages, and things like that that will help the people to understand where they are in each part of the process. Because if not, they are going to get frustrated. Remember something, when we know where we are at and where is the end of the path, then we can move forward. If we don't know where it's going to end and we just simply don't know where we are going, the people will not have this attitude and they will stop implementing your software. And you will work a lot and hard and frustrated because the people are not, using the tool that your company purchased for them. But that is why it is really important to have a positive attitude and an open communication with everybody. Now, training. Training, sometimes a lot of people say that is a cost. Training is really an investment, and we need to measure why or how much return are we going to get from that investment. So our ROI, our return of investment, needs to be known by everybody. So if we have budget allocated for the training, we need to spend it really, really smartly. So we have three types of training for for our staff. First of all, and the easy part is the technical side of it. So what is the software? How does it works? Modules and all that kind of things. How does the software works within their own software? So any software has videos, has instructions, demos, and all that. So that is not the difficult part of it, but you need to allocate time for your people to train on that. The second thing that we need to train is how that will affect other members of the team, how my job will affect other members of the team within the software. So any information that I input, that information is going to be used by somebody else in something. And when I need to understand what is going to be used so that I can give all this, I can understand that if I do something wrong, that will affect somebody else within the organization. And I need to train my people on that as well. And of course, everything that happens with your culture, which are your values, where is your philosophy and your culture going within that software, and why it is important that software specifically to your culture. So for example, Align helps a lot on the strategy part of the organization. But Align is not an ERP, you will not have your own numbers there. Or probably is not a collaborative tool for projects and tasks, really, really, like Asana or like Monday or like Microsoft Project. It's not that was intended to. So we need to understand the software that we are buying, why or what is the main intention of that software. For example, an ERP can have a little CRM or a little inventory thing, or what is the ERP mainframe? It is a accounting software. So the mainframe, we need to understand it and train our people on that mainframe, and then the software will expand naturally, and we will train everybody on that. So those are specifically the ideas on how to implement a software, a culture change in our software position. There are many things that I can go and drill further, but talking to Eugene, we decided that we give this information and then get all these questions so that we can go further and click down or drill down anything specifically that you want to know. So please feel free to have some questions and answers here that we can move forward and answer.
Thank you very much, Louise. Yes, please, for those of you who do have questions, please use the chat feature. Certainly, this is a great presentation. Obviously, it hits very close to home for me. In the software world, we're always trying to convince people, change is always difficult when you introduce a new software into any organization, and particularly sustained change, keeping people using the software, implementing it, and actually getting the most out of it. Louise, let's go deeper into how do you get your employees to really engage with the software? So even like a software, obviously there's different softwares as you talked about. There's ones that you use all day, every day in your business, your CRM, your ERP, your project management that's managing all of your small day-to-day tasks and
Mhm.
priorities. But then there's other software like Align that sort of sits at a higher level that you may not necessarily use all day, every day. You just need to spend a few minutes at least once a day or once a week. So how do you get employees to really engage in all of the different softwares that have different functions and different purposes for the organization?
Yeah, the most important thing, Eugene, is to let them know what is in it for them, why it's important for their own job, and how will help them, let's say, to have less workload or to have less mistakes or things like that. So they need to feel that the software is good for them and not only for the company. So that is a very important thing. The second thing is we need to use these softwares as, as a as a day-to-day regular tool and then stop using other things. For example, we have, for example, a collaborative software. So you have emails coming to you asking something, then you have a WhatsApp thing asking something, then you have something via Sana. So the best way to do is stop answering anything that is not going through the specific software that you are implementing, even if it is a hiccup for the process or the company or somebody will get mad. What I'm saying is, if you are implementing a specific ERP, then probably I did have a company that did this. At the end, they were so frustrated that they took the Excel out of the computers so that they couldn't use Excel, and they were uh, committed and obligated to go through the ERP. So the ERP needs to be open every time in the screen in the computer. Also, your collaborate software, Align, everything needs it's an ongoing thing, and it's not something that you need to input information. One of the things that happen a lot is that at the end of the week, I remember that I to input all the information in my software, and then I do a double job, transferring all the information to this software that I am using. It doesn't matter if it is a CRM, an ERP, or whatever. What matters is that I use that software as a regular tool and take any other tool out of the equation. That is really, really important. And I will try to read I will read some of the comments. Thank you, Naomi. So you were saying the kickoff as the last step in the implementation. The kickoff needs to be at the beginning because the process of implementation is kind of the most important thing because it will come naturally. Of course, sometimes we want to do, the live switch, from tomorrow on, boom, you turn on the switch and the software is implemented. That is not happening. What happens is a process that you will implement specific modules of the software within time. And in that specific or in that project, you understand that it will take you 6 months or 1 year. It doesn't matter as long as you go and implementing modules, you know, every month or every week. So I don't know. I hope that I answered your question, Naomi. And the victims, yeah, we always have victims that are saying this software is giving more work to me, it is not important for me, or it is really complicated, or my computer doesn't work, whatever. We have everything in every part of the world. So software is a tool. The important thing is the input and the output. And the most important thing of that is why I am implementing that software. If I can convey that message to the people, then they will stop being the victims because we are not threatening them. We are giving them something for their use and for their a better work, a better job, let's say, easier job. Because software tools are supposed to help people and companies to to have their jobs easier, not the other way. And if I think that it will complicate my everyday job, then I will be a victim out of it. So thank you for that, Naomi. I hope that I answered your question. And Eugene,
Louise, we do have a few more questions in the Q&A section as well.
okay.
Scott was asking if you're familiar with something like Trainual, which is also an online application, or other things that you can think of in order to make sure that people complete the training on the new software. Obviously, you're putting these systems in place, you're providing the training. How do you make sure that people actually complete the training so that they are ready to use the software when it's
Yeah,
launched?
you can see the paradox here, Eugene. If I use a new software to understand that everybody is being trained for a software, then I have another implementation of another software. You know what I mean? So the, it's a paradox because each one of the softwares, and yes, I am familiar with the training softwares where they go through the process and give you if you are trained or not and give you the path. You can upload all the materials and quizzes and tests and all that, and that is important if you are going to be trained. However, take in consideration that this training software is also a tool that will have the same issues that the software that you are implementing. Probably they are smaller, probably they are not, probably they are being handled by a different amount of people, but it's the same process. Each tool or software that you implement will have everything. So the paradox here is we're training people in a new software, and we are using a software to follow up that training. So we need to understand that as well. So saying that, there are many softwares that mix together, and if we understand the why and we understand why we need that software, it will be better.
And Luis, this goes right into the question that was asked by Jill as well, about whether, Align would be a great way to assign tasks to team members who are implementing a new software. Again, having some way, whether that be in Align or some other software that is already existing in your business, where you can assign action items, whether that be the training, the implementation, the employee feedback, on that new software, so that you know exactly what has been done, what still needs to be done in order for that implementation and rollout of the software to be successful.
As a matter of fact, I've been using Align for those specific purposes of implementing some software uh, because it is easy to follow up the tasks. But Align, for example, is like a it's there are tasks, but Align mainframe is not designed for tasks or projects. It has the feature, which is not designed for that. So remember the KISS theory, keep it simple and stupid. We need to go simple and implement really small chunks. It's like the food. If you are going to bite a big thing like a hot dog from New York, this big, you are going to choke into that. You need to have small pieces of information. There is a question here. How many of you use Excel in your own work? Probably all of us. Now, what percentage of the Excel features do you use? Probably 20%. Some of you probably 40%. Many of us use 10%. And let's say that we're going to implement Excel for some reason. And then I want to teach everybody all of the aspects of the Excel software that they need to understand. And I want everybody to learn everything about Excel. Just an open question, a theory. So it will take me 2 years for Eugene to understand everything that Excel has, and then probably needs to learn about math or any other things or things that you need to learn because you want to implement the whole Excel. And that is not the way to go. And we make that mistake with every software that we implement. We choose everything that it has and want to implement everything at the same time. So what it is important of Align? Let's say that it's the daily huddles, for example. If that is important for me, then I first choose daily huddles. And then I choose the task thing. And then I will go with all the strategy. So eventually you will have 70 to 80% of your software implemented. But it will be very difficult to have the 100% out of it because there are many things that you do not need or many things that has no value to the specific group of your own company. So I hope that I answered that question with that specific example, Eugene.
Louise, another question that was posed. Obviously, attention deficit disorder to too many tools within an organization. And, there's the old saying that a fool with a tool is still a fool. So how do you sort of help your employees avoid distractions and being overwhelmed with too many softwares that have been implemented in the organization where each one sort of does a specific purpose, but still it's a lot for all employees to be able to manage?
Yeah, this is to do with timing. When one software is already embedded in the culture and everybody uses it as we use email, for example. Nobody, email is something that you use. It is not a software, but it is. But we are so used to it that we do not put that let's say label in the email software. So if you are able to culturalize your software within time, then people will not even they will forget that they are using a specific software, and then you put another one and then another one. You will not be able to implement uh, simultaneously different type of software. I remember when I talked to you at the beginning because of on a line, and I told you the same thing. I told you that my concern was that my team was using, many softwares, and then this is another software as well. So I made sure that those softwares were already cultured, that they kind of feel it by the day-to-day work, and forget about that there is a software. And then Align, in this case, was another project that we are using it. So, and then sometimes when you plan at the beginning, sometimes the plan, changes, and that is okay because you thought that something will be better for your organization, and when you go through it, you understand that it's not that way. So you can change that as long as you are having the milestones, the rhythm, and to understand if the software is helping you on why you want it.
Luis, let's talk about the importance of identifying a champion in your organization for the
Mhm,
software implementation and
mhm.
how to make sure that that is the right person to serve in that capacity.
All right, that's a good one. Uh, a champion, almost all the time, we are using an IT person to be a champion of any software implementation because we think that the software is a problem. The problem is the solution that the software does. And that is the most important part of it. So your champion needs to be on the business side of your company, not on the software side of the company. So the software is a tool to help the business. And why it is important? And that guy or lady needs to know marketing, finance. They need to understand the whole thing so that they can promote the software in all the layers of the organization, vertically and horizontally. So it doesn't matter if it is a marketing guy or a finance guy, but what the most important part of it is that he needs to understand the business, the operations of the business, what is that you are providing to your clients. And as a matter of fact, any software at the end needs to serve your clients, not you. What is it that happened in your organization implementing a software that will help your clients better, that will serve your clients better, not the other way around? And we've been hearing many times people saying, "Oh, I cannot serve you because it's the system. I cannot go around on the system." And you are in a store, and the lady in the store says, "Okay, the system is broken. I cannot do anything for you." Because we are depending on the software. We need to depend on the culture, and the software is a tool to implement the culture. So, finalizing your question, the champion needs to have his own or her own multidisciplinary team, and she or he needs to be well versed and knowledge about the business itself and not specifically the software in particular.
Fantastic. And if anybody has any other questions, please go ahead and use the chat or the Q&A section of the software. Luis, would you go back to the very first slide that has your contact information, just so that everybody can jot down your email address should they wish to contact you for more information? Let's see if there's any more questions that come in. Thank you for a fantastic presentation. Anybody with any other questions this morning? Give everybody just a minute or two if anybody has any. Let's see what just came in. Jill says, thank you so much. This was very helpful. Thank you for that, Jill. Glad you appreciated it. To summarize, obviously, we want to give a huge thank you to Luis for the presentation this morning. His contact information is there available for you all. If any of you have questions about how to use Align, obviously you can always contact us at our website, aligntoday.com. Thank you again for attending, and we hope that you will actually join us for a very special webinar for our December 2020 webinar on December 16th, where we will be presenting the one and only Vern Harnish, the world-renowned business guru and author of the best-selling books, Mastering the Rockefeller Habits and Scaling Up. Vern is going to be presenting Fast Goals, Game Plan for 2020, where he will be discussing how you can rev up your performance with FAST, that's F-A-S-T, versus SMART goals. FAST goals, by the way, are frequently discussed, ambitious, specific, and transparent. That's what the FAST stand for, and how you can drive better results using the same practices that win championships. So again, that's going to be on December 16th at 10 a.m. Central. Please mark your calendars, but certainly more information about that will be coming in the next few weeks. Till then, Luis, thank you again so much, and we hope that everybody has a great day. And again, please stay safe and healthy. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you, Eugene. And just remember, if you are going to implement any software, first ask why I will need to implement that software. That is the
Sounds
most
good.
important thing on the culture. Thank you, Eugene. Thank you, everybody. I'll be around. Have a great day. See you later.